Moving on to the NFC South, the New Orleans Saints will be back to glory, and they will be the #1 seed in the NFC. They are ready to make that next step. Drew Brees will have a career season. 2 years ago, he had that career season, and last year had a solid season after a dismal start. With New Orleans, the running game, health, very important. Deuce McAllister, I don't know if he can really contribute. He had major surgeries on both his knees throughout his career. Great player. Great heart, but I don't know if I think he's on his last leg. But Pierre Thomas and Aaron Stecker backing him up, those guys are talented and they're hungry. And Reggie Bush better come out strong this year. He has to be an NFL back because it seems he's very timid in running inside the tackles. I always said he was a glorified Eric Metcalf. And then the wide receivers, Marcus Colston. I mean, who would have thought he would have been turn out to be one of the best receivers? 7th round pick out of Hofstra in 2006. And I mean, you have solid David Patton. Just a solid receiver. Devery Henderson, inconsistent, but still is a deep play threat. Robert Meacham did not play last year at all because he wasn't ready. He is showing some improvement, and I think as the season goes on, he can really contribute to that team. And Jeremy Shockey, big pickup for the New Orleans Saints. He reunites with Sean Payton, who he saw a lot of success with the New York Giants, especially his rookie season. And defensively, I have to say, Cedric Ellis is going to make a huge difference in between Will Smith and Charles Grant, who are two very good defensive ends. And Cedric Ellis, the rookie out of USC, I'm going to talk about him a little bit later as well. You got Jonathan Vilma. Great acquisition from the New York Jets, and he's back in his element of the 4-3 because he's not a linebacker in the 3-4. He's not big enough. He's back in his element in the 4-3, having those 2 defensive tackles right in front of him. And then, I mean, the secondary, it definitely will show improvement. I think Mike McKenzie, if he can stay healthy, definitely is a good cornerback. But then also, too, Roman Harper, I'm going to talk about him. He's going to make a huge difference. The strong safety will make a huge difference for the New Orleans Saints. Moving on to Carolina Panthers, John Fox is on the hot seat. Jake Delhomme coming back from Tommy John surgery. Don't know if he can be able to remain healthy. He's had some injury problems, but when healthy, he's a very good quarterback. And Steve Smith, he's missing the first 2 games after the suspension of his beatdown of Ken Lucas, which was a shame. DJ Hackett, he's injured himself. You know, that's a problem. I mean, Dwayne Jarrett, not really, he struggled last year. Muhsin Muhammad, he's like older than God. The Cards have to be all right. They have to have a great hand for them to really provide the consistent weapons for Jake Delhomme. Running backs are very good, though, with Jonathan Stewart, the rookie out of Oregon. He will eventually be the starting running back. D'Angelo Williams, I like him a lot, and I think, that's the thing. I think Stewart will get more carries from the standpoint. I think he's big enough to take more of a workload. But D'Angelo is still a good back, and I think he will still make a contribution. But defensively, though, it's interesting with Carolina. Defensively, Julius Peppers, he has to come back. He had a subpar year last year. John Beeston, I like him a lot. I'll talk about him later. But defensively, they're not as effective as they were 2-3 years ago. That's the thing. The players that they have are getting older, and also too, some of the players have not built on the potential to be Pro Bowlers. Like Chris Gamble, he hasn't really built on that potential. Richard Marshall hasn't really built out on that potential. I'm talking about Gamble and Marshall. They're both cornerbacks. Ken Lucas hasn't really built up on that potential. So I just think the defense will struggle at times, and that's going to limit Carolina from making the playoffs. You have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. John Gruden did a great job with them last year, and their defense is the key of their success. Derrick Brooks, one of my favorite players in all sports, because I'm a Florida State fan. Derrick Brooks is first ballot Hall of Famer, no question. Undersized linebacker, but he's a 10-time Pro Bowler, and he's so ageless. And then you have Barrett Ruud, had a great breakout season in middle linebacker last year. And then Cato June, good, solid linebacking core. The secondary, Rondé Barber, is getting a little older, but at the same time, I tell you, Barber is still, one of the savviest defensive backs in the NFL. Tanara Jackson, Jermaine Phillips, hard hitters. Will Allen off the bench. Those safeties are really physical. And then Gaines Adams, rookie last year. showed some signs at the end of the season. I see Gaines Adams having double-digit sacks this year. If not, he'll have 8 or 9. No less than 8 sacks. Then offensively, Jeff Garcia, quarterback situation, little questionable with Garcia. He still doesn't have that arm strength to get the ball down the field. Joey Galloway, 36 years old. I don't know, like if he has enough in the tank to be an elite receiver. He's had 2 great years, but at the same time, I don't know if he has that effectiveness at his age to be as fast because he's still small. Antonio Bryant is key for him to really step up and be a good complement to Joey Galloway. Ernest Graham, key for him to continue to build on his success from last year. So we'll see. But Tampa Bay, I think offensively, too many question marks. They won't be able to make the playoffs. The Atlanta Falcons, wait till 2010, I have to say. Defensively, they have solid players with defensive ends, John Abraham, and young, up-and-coming Jamal Anderson. And also linebackers, too. Look out for the rookie Curtis Lofton. I'm going to talk about him a little bit later. And Keith Brooken, who's, just a consummate professional. But the secondary, at the same time, has inexperience and they're getting older. So I don't know, that defense will struggle. And then you have offensively, Matt Ryan, rookie quarterback. He's going to have some bumps. Very talented, and he's a winner. But he's definitely going to have some bumps on the road. And Michael Turner has an opportunity to be a full-time running back. As long as Jarvis Norwood, very underrated. Very underrated. Him and Norwood should really provide a decent running game for what they have for offensive front, because the offensive line is average. So imagine when that offensive line gets better, then Turner and Norwood should really blow up. Roddy White, look out for him, but he has no support, so he could see double teams. So Atlanta, still work in progress. Wait till 2010 for sure. 2009 maybe.